you have a bad day can reflect how you dance, and you have a bad dance, sometimes that can reflect how your day goes, or like your conversations go for the rest of that dance event or the rest of the thing.
Everything in dance is a metaphor for life.
Everything.
Absolutely, 100%.
Oh my god.
Welcome everybody. We are back with another episode, and we have a very special guest with us this time. And I know I say that a lot, but this time I really mean it. Definitely didn't mean it for anyone else on this podcast. I'm joking. But we've gotten to know them very, very well over the short amount of time that we've got to spend together, and I'm very excited for you to get to meet them as well and get to be a part of the journey and experience that we have a little bit. So, welcoming Riley.
Hey!
Hi!
Yes.
Yay!
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
Again, obviously, we're missing the Mac part of Zaddy, but we're still over in Europe at the moment, but it's...
MackZaddy.
Yeah, MackZaddy today.
Hey, let's go.
Zaddy Rye.
Yes.
Yeah, so, we're just here at Swing Resolution this weekend in Edinburgh, which has been really fun.
The event has finished. We had a late night last night, had a few drinks along the way, so this is like the coffee
recovery
and the
Irish
recovery
coffee.
time, which is, I love, because these chats are like deep and meaningful, I feel, like where you just like lay it all out. And on that note, like I was saying before, it was really good to get to know you again, all the chats that we've had, and like sharing all the mindset stuff and like mental blocks that we've experienced at the same time, and through other people and through private lessons and stuff. And you have a project that you're working on, a new business or something like that, right?
Yeah, an offering.
Yeah.
Yes, this program is called Swing Reports and Restorations. They have a clunky name, but it was initially just called Swing Reports. I didn't have a different name for it.
Yeah.
And then it felt really incomplete, like it didn't cover everything that the program is. So I added and restoration. And a lot of people still don't know what that is either.
Yeah, well, okay, what does it mean? What does this mean?
So restorations is based in the fact that the program is centered around restorative justice or transformative justice.
Okay.
So when it comes to justice systems, we're really used to punitive justice, which is like punitive punishing. Right?
Oh, okay.
So like if someone does something wrong, they get banned from the community is kind of the extreme example.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
Yeah, and it gets everybody like really afraid of ever messing up. Right? It gets people really uptight about receiving feedback because it's scary.
Yeah.
Like the thought of being exiled from a community is terrifying.
We actually have someone that came to Brisbane for this, and they said they had been banned from a Latin community and just like not allowed to come back. And I was like, what the heck?
But it very much sounded like a miscommunication thing. Like there was no conversation about anything that happened. It was just, this is what I heard, you're now banned. So it's good to know that you're kind of introducing something that's giving everyone a voice, which is good.
Yeah, and it's intended to not treat people as disposable, right? Like if we're going to remove someone from the community, let's make sure it's for a really good reason.
Yeah.
That the profile of it is that they're likely to cause harm again, that they're not willing to work with the system to reduce incidences of future harm, or like put mitigations in place until they recover trust.
Yeah.
What are they willing to do to make sure that the person that they've caused harm to feels safe during that process, right? So like, can we be more collaborative about it and help like rehabilitate behavior and not dispose of people?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the restorations part, is like restoring a sense of safety or whatever has been lost for the harmed individual.
Yeah.
While seeing if we can like restore or rehabilitate behavior in the other person, right?
Gotcha.
It's not the person like themselves, but the behavior in the community that can be,
teaching like
assisted.
different ways to do things and deal with others than react. Not. I definitely know there's times where you can react as like in a defensive way, and then it's probably going to be bad. Something that actually is inside me if I react in like a defensive way. Like let's say Maddie says something to me about my dancing and I'm like, screw you, blah blah blah, all this whatever. That defensiveness would be because it's probably true. Does that make sense?
Yeah, or it's just, like everything that we're associating with being corrected or, being wrong in the past, like comes into the room with us and we're like, oh my god, what's at risk, or like what's at stake here?
Yeah.
It can feel really high stakes.
Yeah.
Versus, like I try to tell people, because of the systems that we live in, because of the way we're used to having issues handled, which can be like really extreme, really reactive, like either it's, one person banned or the other person just has to deal with it.
Right.
Like your first reaction to someone saying like, hey, you did something that hurt someone else isn't going to be like,
yeah.
Thank you for telling me.
Yeah.
I'm here for the process.
Thank you, tell me more.
Right?
Yeah.
It's going to be
Yeah.
like sweaty palms. It's
Yeah.
going to be increased heart rate.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Unless
be
you were
also-
like, yes, I really am happy I hurt this person's feelings.
Yeah.
That
I
would
mean,
be
right. Yeah. Like, thanks for telling me. That's great.
Yeah. Have you, like,
That would be a whole nother
Yeah.
situation that I haven't run into
I was
yet.
gonna say,
There's still time. Who knows?
what is, like, what are some weird situations that you have run into? Like,
Ooh, what can you say?
yeah.
I don't know if it's weird so much as just like a roadblock that I run into a lot, which
Yeah.
is the defensiveness, right? Like I'll reach out to someone and say,
Yeah.
I don't know that you intended to do this. I can't imagine that you did, and you had this impact. Like, can we have a conversation about that? And the reactions that I'll get can be pretty extreme, and
Yeah.
from like personal threats to like threats of lawsuits and stuff like that.
Damn.
And so that's not quirky, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't describe it as like
Yeah.
That's fun. Yeah.
it's truly not silly.
Yeah.
It's very
Serious.
serious.
Yeah, serious, yeah.
But it's kind of like a misaligned response to what's actually been said.
Yeah.
based off
They're thinking they're attacking, being attacked. Like it's for the benefit of everyone, including that person that you're talking to, and everyone else maybe that's involved. It's not that you're going to ban them or lawsuit them or anything
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
more just like, can we have a conversation about it?
But yeah.
I assume anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely not rare. People will find themselves in uncomfortable situations sometimes at dance weekends, and I think it's really good that they, like, with this program, they have an avenue of being able to like safely go to someone and talk about it, and then there be a more calm, civil kind of resolve, which is really nice.
For
I think
instance,
that's great.
I'm going to use an example, which, like, again, without giving names and, like, all this sort of stuff. Like, there's times that we've had an event.
Sorry,
And just in case you guys might hear some talking in the background, there's some, like, we're at an event, so we're in a lounge at the moment. So hopefully you guys can hear us well.
You might be overhearing some like really big business deals.
Yeah, like, there's some suits going on, and then there's a guy in joggers and shorts, and it's probably, like, 3 degrees outside. Actually, there was a hurricane, literally, on the way here, and people couldn't show up to the event. Like, that's what's insane. The wind.
Walk though, from my hotel to here, maybe a 5-minute walk. I
Yeah.
saw 3 joggers.
Crazy.
Just
Oh, that's insane.
soaked, wearing their shorts.
Is it
like,
raining
out
out
in
there
a
too?
hurricane, red warning,
Oh, yeah.
whatever that is.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
it's just strong wind. There was a lot of people out there.
It was strong, loud, angry wind.
Yeah.
It was hectic.
And if you mix it with the cold and the rain,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. But yeah.
Medication.
Yeah. So we apologize if you hear some noise. We'll try to keep it as loud as we can for us. An example of something that we've experienced is there's, like, in many communities have probably experienced this, but, like, you're dancing with another partner and you're touching a human being that has different boundaries on what they like to be touched and not touched. So people feel uncomfortable talking about that sometimes, or like feel like they can't say, is that weird if I get touched a little bit lower in the hip or higher in the neck, or like any random place, I guess. So it's like being able to talk about that and have a safe environment to be like, that's okay, this is okay, that's probably not okay. Maybe you're overreacting. There's so many scenarios in which these things can happen, but I think people need someone to talk to at events, especially because there's so many factors and so many variables that makes it tricky.
Like, these events are just so many random interactions between people with all differing relationships, from strangers to longtime partners, and there's just so many uncontrolled interactions going on, right? Like, it's like chemicals just bumping into each other, and sometimes it has, like, there's discomfort as a result. And the majority of the reports that come in are things that happen on the social dance floor, as far as, like, inappropriate or uncomfortable touch. Or like comments that are made that make someone uncomfortable. Like, I didn't sign up to hear that when I entered this kind of unspoken social contract of the dance. So in that case, the dual support model, which is offering support to both the person harmed and the person who has caused harm, like person who experienced harm, person who caused harm, would be like talking to the person who experienced the harm and kind of assessing whether or not what they experienced is likely to occur again within the norms of the community, right? So if they're like, oh, this person did 4 hip catches in this song, and that felt weird to me, it made me uncomfortable. Like, okay, that's really likely to happen again. So what tools can we give you to communicate to your partner? Either verbally, non-verbally, like what interventions can we give you as a skill building thing to make sure that you don't have to feel that way.
And even being told, being told that it's probably going to happen again is maybe something that they wouldn't expect. And just that would validate being like, okay, this is going to be a part of a process, and then they can also make the decision whether they want to continue or not as well. And you know, if they did say something and like part of that interaction was they felt uncomfortable, they said something and the other person was like, well, this is just how it is. Like, then offering support to the person who caused that harm, being like, here's other ways that you can respond to people's boundaries. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're trying to tell you how to exist or like move through the world. It's how, you know, you can respond to the uniqueness of interacting with this person. I love that. That's really good. I think, that's really good. That sounds like a tricky job to me. It's a very tricky job.
I'm learning so much, and it's taking so much like inner work. You know, like I have to move through all of my own big feelings to make sure I'm acting from values, not emotions, which is what I'm asking these people to do too. Like, I have to model that and be doing that myself.
Absolutely.
And also, like, I like to say I'm both the like founder and the intern of this company that I started. Right, like there's not really someone doing this work in this field in West Coast Swing, so I'm kind of like
making it up as you go, learning as you go.
Like doing my best to apply all of these practices. Learning all the time.
Without a huge amount of practice subjects.
I feel like a simple, sorry if this sounds bad, but like a HR for dance, if that makes sense. I don't know much about HR.
I think HR can have a reputation of being there to protect the company. So, like, in theory, I'm not here to protect the reputation or like uphold the reputation of West Coast Swing. I'm here to like help the two people involved in most cases, a misunderstanding or like two different cultures from different regions colliding in a shared space.
And especially being West Coast Swing, being like in all parts of the world now, like so many different cultures and backgrounds coming together. Someone has a bad day, someone's like, bad experience. So many factors. Sorry, you were gonna say something?
So you're based, whereabouts in the States are you based?
So I'm in the East Bay of the San Francisco Bay Area. Closest city people would recognize would probably be Oakland. I live in a place called San Leandro. Near Oakland.
Nice. And you teach classes there?
Yeah, I have Monday night weekly classes in Oakland and Thursday night weekly classes in San Jose.
Nice.
The one in Oakland was started by M. Kenny, beloved member of our community who has stepped away for, you know, her own reasons.
Life reasons.
And so she started Explore West Coast Swing in Oakland. And so I got to, you know, take that over when M stepped away. And then Do Your Own Swing has been in my care for about 8 years. It was passed down to me by my mentor, like primary first coach, Miguel de Souza, who now lives in Portugal.
Wow.
Oh, cool.
Wow. History, I love this. So you've been there for 8 years, or you've held it for 8 years?
I've held it for 8 years.
Yeah, right.
That's awesome.
When did M step away?
I want to say January of 2024 is when I took over Explore, so I think at the end of 2023 is when we started talking about that transition. And,
Yeah, right.
You know, making sure I could like uphold her values in the space.
Yeah.
We know building a community is no easy thing, but I understand you have some kind of unique ways in which you run classes and stuff too. I think Zach was talking to me about the sliding scale. You have a sliding scale for your classes as one thing?
Yeah. So and a lot of what I'm doing in my community is trying to make space for people who may not feel safe or comfortable participating in the community otherwise.
Yeah.
So one thing we have is that it's queer affirming. A lot of people will interpret that as like it's a queer space, but it's mostly a queer affirming space. We have a lot of allies.
Yeah.
But a queer affirming just meaning we're expecting the people who are there to respect the identities and personhood of queer people and their
pronouns
like,
and
self-expression, pronouns.
However you want to, whoever you want to be is who you want to be, and
and that's okay.
And we have more health policies in place than most places, so that people who are immunocompromised, who are part of, or just have heightened community care practices, can be involved.
What's that? Sorry.
So if they're like still concerned about COVID-19 going around and like the long-term impacts of that. And they want to make sure that they're taking care of themselves and others by masking.
Right.
We offer masked portions of the night so that those people who were a part of our community, like an important part of our community, can still participate.
Yes.
Hang on one second, sorry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome the waiter to the podcast. Say hello.
We can cut that out.
I'm keeping that in for sure.
Consent. And then another thing we do is making it financially accessible, so it's sliding scale. No one turned away for lack of funds, but people can also pay up to like $40 per event. $50 per event, so that people are paying from their means.
That sounded so scary to me when you said that. I was like, that like, and I asked like, have you had anyone pay like nothing or like nearly nothing?
Very few people, and people who sometimes pay nothing will other times pay like $5 or $10. I think people are really invested in supporting spaces that support them.
Yes.
In general.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I haven't, not that someone never paying would be an indication that they don't support the space.
Yeah.
Right? But I think like them paying what they can and having that amount shift around shows that they're not just taking the space for granted, and that's not the vibe of anybody in this space either. I think they all are really, really grateful for it, and they say as much too.
And pretty self-aware, like I'm not going to take advantage and stuff like that, because if I was like, I know someone told me to do this with my private lessons, and I was like,
sliding scale.
Yeah, I would just like, because
like
I didn't
pay
want
me what you think I'm worth.
I didn't want to put my private lesson rate up, and they're like, you tell them to just pay them tell them to, like, don't change it, don't lower it, don't change it, make it higher. You ask them to pay you what you think you're worth, that knowing that I was 100 Australian dollars at that time, and then they might give me whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's a cool idea, but I don't know why I didn't do it. But
the language of that is hard though, because I think if you're asking people to like pay you what they think you're worth, there's like a pressure of, like.
No, like you could always beat yourself up if there is like, if you're tying yourself to that.
Yeah. So I think I like the idea of, paying within the means. I think that's a good like way to put it. I like that.
Do you have a minimum of like the sliding scale?
For the dance? No.
Yeah.
So for private lessons, I did over like the lockdowns offer a no looking policy for my Venmo. So like I would offer virtual lessons for 1 week, and people could pay whatever they wanted to. My promise was I wouldn't look to see what each person had paid.
Oh, okay.
So like in theory, they could take a lesson and pay $40, no dollars, or they could pay twice as much. Like it was their choice.
Okay.
Did you go broke?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
That's awesome.
It ends up working out pretty well.
That's so good.
Letting people.
That's so good.
Work with what they can.
I love that.
But I did have some interesting conversations that week because people were reaching out saying, here's why you shouldn't do a name your own price model for private lessons. And they made some good points.
What were the points?
The biggest one being that it can undercut other professionals who need
Like a
steady
minimum,
income,
Okay.
minimums.
Yep.
So what I end up doing now is that I'll offer, if anybody who takes a private lesson with me wants to basically overpay by $5 to $20, whatever they overpay will go into a fund, and then people can request a lower rate.
I love that.
And then I'll use the money from that to,
That's so
to
cool.
balance those out.
Yeah.
It takes away like the privacy of needing a lower price bracket, but it still works out pretty well. And
It's also like, it also, I think, can give gratitude to, like, you know that people have done privates before you and respect that someone's putting in the effort and time into learning, and also appreciate that space enough that they're like, I know someone else needs to do this, so I'm going to give extra just to make sure someone else can get into this dance and enjoy it as much as they do.
Yeah.
So I think that's really beautiful.
yeah,
Which is cool.
Communities are like relationships and interconnectedness, and a lot of that is sharing your resources.
Yeah.
So like if you have financial resources and you know that other people don't, like, and that's something you can contribute into the community to make it more of what you want, which is a bunch of people who are, you know, able to pursue their education and their passion.
Because dance is
Then
not cheap.
offer-
Let's be honest.
No,
Like,
it's not.
Definitely
if you want to
not
travel
cheap.
to like a bunch of countries and or even just in with your own country and all the events is freaking
Yeah.
I've seen this meme where it's like an average hobby for the average person will be $400 and something a month or something, or maybe is a year, something like
That's a
that.
very big
I
difference.
know, but
Legit statistics, people.
all I remember is it was a
I just
very
became
low
like
number.
the math lady meme. Like,
Yeah.
just start
Numbers.
popping
Yeah.
in my
Yeah,
eyes.
5, 6, 7, 8 was like what I could do.
But yeah, it's definitely not a cheap hobby at all.
Yeah. I love like being accessible. From,
Yeah.
From like every angle, like that's awesome.
It's so complicated though, right? Because there's this whole conversation going on right now about how events should be like $500, $800 a ticket. I don't remember what the exact
Yeah.
dollar was, because
Yeah.
professionals are also struggling to
Yeah.
feel financially secure,
Yeah.
like have healthcare.
Yeah. I think it's
Yeah.
just the world is like kind of getting more expensive, I guess. Maybe there'll be a crash. Maybe there won't be. Actually, no, there will be. It's just a matter
Yeah,
of
that's your
when.
prediction, Zach.
Yeah.
There'll be a crash. I don't know
Life
when.
predictions is Zach
Yeah.
Skinner.
If I keep saying it, it'll be true one day.
Yes,
Do we
we
have
have
some,
say.
like,
I don't want one.
Twigs or something you can like throw onto the table and let us know.
Well, yeah. I think it's true. Like everyone needs to look after themselves too. Everyone needs to make
Yeah.
money to like feed themselves and all that sort of stuff too. To like, you know, dancing life is also hard in the sense of your body. You're doing some bad things to your body, like third foot position and stretching into all these things.
Dancers
and
are
holding,
never good to their body.
Like it's not gonna last forever. Do you know what I mean? So we
Yeah.
also need to like fund retirements and like be able to do that too, which most dancers that run dance schools and do dance full time, we also like have to somehow remember that we need to think about that, which is freaking, oh right, I need to put some money into my super or what I think it's 401k for you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a few different types of accounts for
Yeah.
independent contractors.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we lucky we have full-time jobs, so they take care of that side of things, which is nice.
Yeah.
And then yeah.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, we don't have like a, you know, right now there's no such thing as like a West Coast Swing Dancers union or even like overseeing company where, you know, you can pay dues into it and then you have healthcare coverage or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Nothing that I know of.
there you go, there's another thing you can do too. With
Yeah, just
with
tack that on to
with
your other projects.
Yeah, with your
Riley?
Solve a problem. Here we go.
Yes. There's so many not problems, like so many challenges in the dance thing space. Something that I would like to ask about is like, we talked about it previously, the whole mental space of like mental blocks and challenges for people, and like giving private lessons and how you could deal with this, or again kind of in the same space that you were talking about with just communications and dealing with stuff. I'd love to know, is there like anything you'd be happy to share with, like what's some challenges that you've faced? It could be like when you're a beginner, it could be now, it could be whenever, or even, yeah, let's start with that. Because then I'd love to know how you'd overcome some of them as well. It's a deep question.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think, like, I don't know if I have, like, systems in place in the same way that I'm, like, well, so what I do is I give one person $10 extra encouragement and the other person like minus 10, right? Like I don't have the same sort of structure there. I think like a life philosophy of mine is most suffering is rooted in resistance to what is. So if you can follow me there.
Okay.
I think most people who are learning the dance will suffer for not wanting to be new, or like, you know, and there's very real consequences of being a new dancer in this space when it comes to like whether or not other people are welcoming, right? But like if we're talking about one's relationship to their own dancing versus how the community's treating them,
okay,
I think like wanting to be further than you are, to feel different than you do, to have that like I think it's like that Ira Glass quote about like your tastes exceeding your skills.
Yep.
Like that dynamic can be so hard.
Yeah.
So what I try to do is
I
like,
love that your taste is exceeding your skills. I've never heard that
it's
before.
like a long quote. I would look it up. It's good stuff to like think about. So I try to, whenever I'm talking to somebody, make sure that I'm using language that reflects that where they're at is okay. Like that I'm not using language of like, well, yeah, let's like make sure that you're doing this, this, and this, and then if you're still having a problem, like we'll work on the next thing, which I think can be really helpful for a lot of different types of learners. But like I need to, for myself, make sure that I'm working from a mindset of where you're at right now is great. Like you are choosing to dance, you're here, you're investing your time. Your movement as it is great. Like thank you for bringing it into the space. Like,
individuality.
Like where you're at is really normal. Because it's where you're at.
Yeah, that's it. Everyone's journey is different. It's the I feel like this.
I'm not trying to like impart that on anyone. It's more that I'm trying to like keep that mindset, because I think it comes through in like little things like sentence structure, how you present something. So I'm trying to like make sure that I'm thinking about it as wherever this person's at, even if where they're at is not liking their dancing. That's normal. That's okay. That's where we're at today. And for me, that's like the first step in like accepting and like unlocking and relaxing into what is, so that you can actually like move
past it.
And do you think like that's a big thing for you?
Did any of that make sense?
Yeah,
absolutely. Fuck yeah. I love this. You were just talking, you're like, this is deep. Like,
let me go into my brain.
The speak as it comes, like, think it out in my mouth. I love it.
But I guess I mean obviously we've kind of all been there, so that's been like something you like to focus on and be aware of, because you've kind of been in that space as well, you know, like
totally.
It's part of the journey.
I hated my dancing for so long. I didn't even like the way it felt in my body. I was just like, eventually I'll like either the way this looks or this feels. Ideally both. Someday. There was such a long time.
I don't know if it ever goes away. I'm still feeling that.
There's still moments of that. And that's okay.
And like the two of you must phase in and out of that too, right?
Absolutely.
Like it seems
totally.
like a part of everyone's
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the more passionate you get about like wanting to be better at the dance, I guess, the more you know, the less you know, and the more you want to know again, and then you're like, I still got so much more to know and to do, and will I ever achieve it? And then you talk to people that have been around even longer than us, and then they're like, I'm still learning too, or I'm still dealing with these things. I'm like, yes, sweet. So we're all actually doing okay. Sweet.
Maybe we can all trust the process. Literally everyone has this same like cycle that we're going.
We'd all be so much happier. It'd be great.
Brings me to like a question of, sorry, were you gonna ask something then?
I was just curious, is there something like in your dance journey right now that you're kind of working towards or that you're excited about at the moment?
I think updating how I'm connecting with other people on and off the floor is my focus right now.
Cool.
It's requiring that I develop new skills for sure. Bringing different parts of myself into the space.
I'm so interested. Which one do you feel like?
So vague.
No. Which one do you feel like you struggle with, or like? I'm assuming that you said you're working on these things. Which one do you feel like you've had to put more effort into, or like, or what's the change? If that makes sense.
I think having a lot of time away from the community and getting to live one life. A little bit of like historical context. Queer. I was living closeted from the West Coast swing space for years. Right. And then like over lockdown, my impression of the West Coast Swing community was that they were all like getting hip with the queers. And so I like came out and was like, here, I'm going to join these two lives. And then went through
the opposite.
A time, went through a process, went through
acceptance and I've only known you as like being queer, like
because we met in like 2021, 2022 something like that. Yeah, so I think like that was a phase that I didn't want to have to go through, but I did.
Right.
And then now I'm like more whole as myself than I've ever been, and I think there's still a lot that I keep separate from the dance world.
Right.
But more of me is here than before, and
That's
so
cool.
then now I'm like, okay. And so I feel like socially and how I'm relating to other people, that was true first, and now I'm almost trying to catch up with like matching that and being more myself on the dance floor.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah. That's cool.
Like one chicken.
It
was
get you
chicken
with
and
the egg.
egg.
Yeah. Because it's like like a day in, like you have a bad day can reflect how you dance, and you have a bad dance. Sometimes that can reflect how your day goes, or like your conversations go for the rest of that dance event or the rest of the thing.
Everything in dance is a metaphor for life.
Everything.
Absolutely, 100%.
Oh my god.
What did you say before? Your taste is bigger than your...
Yeah, when your taste is greater than your skills.
Yeah, I love this. I kind of want like to make so many shirts. So Matt, when you get that, we're going to put that on a shirt. So we can give you a cut.
Oh, and so Matt does all our shirts for MackZaddy and Zaddy, and he's a mate back home. He runs his own like shirt business. And, he's great.
Yeah. He's been it's one of the projects that we're all working on, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
Like one of the things.
Another side gig, which is fun.
I have really enjoyed, like, again, you said like socially and on and off the floor. Like I really enjoyed this weekend being able to catch up with people that I don't get to like catch up with all the time, and actually like
have conversations. And not be rushed around. And,
it's times like at events where you feel like you got to go, and like you're about to teach a workshop, you're going to teach a private, then you got to go get changed, and then you got to compete, and then you got to do the next division, and then there's finals, and then your friends are competing, so you got to video them, and then I go on and on and on. So it's
like Sunday night, and you're leaving the hotel, and you see your friend.
Yeah, you're like.
You were the whole time.
Yeah. Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
My favorite is, hey. Like that's the content of like some conversations, and it sucks. Like I mean, I value that it's not offensive to people as well. Sometimes like if we have a relationship,
get it.
Yeah.
But it does I think it's meant a lot to kind of have the time to hang out and talk and invest socially
and learning about people's lives. Like I didn't know that you weren't queer in the community, so you had to come out and go through that stuff. Like that, I can only imagine. I remember, so this is a story that's on, like, Mackenzie's told, when he came out to us, and then basically came out and he's like, I'm bi, and I said, is that it? Because we went through like a phase of our friendship where it wasn't doing too well. There was this
massive build-up of anxiety over, and there were leading up to it for days. He went off radar. He wasn't talking to us. We're like, what is going on?
Did you know there was a big conversation coming, or you just
we sat him down. We're like, dude, we need to sit down and talk because there's so much distance here. Like what the fuck's going on?
Then he said, it's like, yeah, you know what? I think there's something I want to talk to you guys about. If we could go get together, we're like, yeah, cool, let's go. All right, no worries.
And it took a while for him to like open his mouth.
My stomach just got tight. Like the idea of a friend was taking distance. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, what's coming up?
Yeah. We're like, oh my gosh, what could possibly be going on?
Yeah, I was like, fuck, he hates us now. What do we do?
Or something dramatic has happened. And anyway,
not that we're anxious people.
No. But he came over and he said it. We're like. And like, oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Oh, cool, dude. Yeah, that's fine. We already knew.
I thought you were gay like a long time ago when I first met you, but that's cool.
But
it threw me off.
Yeah, I think that was like around COVID. I think that was just before COVID or during COVID.
He's like, I was a bit sad. It was a bit anticlimactic. I thought there'd be more like fuss about it and stuff. We're the last people to find out. And I'm like, fuck you, man. Fuck you.
But yeah, I mean, he's definitely. Like not alone, and you haven't been alone in that, and I think it's good to know now, like a few years on, there's so many more spaces where it's okay for people to like be that way and be who they are. We've definitely got a long way to go still, but I think it's a step in the right direction, which is cool.
Yeah. We definitely were talking about like some things that are going on in your part of the world with political changements. I don't want not necessarily to get all political and talk about all that sort of stuff, but like more challenges that you'll probably face in the future and like how to deal with that. And I love how like forward thinking you are, which as well. So like how can you deal with this before it even happens? Like it's always like good to have that, what do you call it? Is plan for the worst but hope for the best.
Yeah,
does that make
something
sense?
like that.
Yeah. So it's like I love that too, because that space still needs to be there for more people to dance.
Yeah.
Like if we're limiting people in any sense, then we're taking people away from the like West Coast swing. And I want to dance with as many people as I can in the world. And I think salsa and all the like Latin styles have freaking 6,000 people that will rock up to an event. I don't know if we have a West Coast swing event that does that yet. So we'll get there.
It's going to take some like stewardship and like everybody understanding that conflict is going to be an inevitable part of participating in community.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to learn, like, a big lesson for me right now is to respond to, like, distress and overwhelm and fear with community building, or, like, community investment, or, like, resting into community, which means that we need to have, like, these networks of relationship of people ready to take care of each other.
Right. Yep. Yes, I love that.
And so, like, the Swing Reports and Restorations does feel like it's an investment in changing the culture of the community. Be like, all right, we have to deal with conflict if we're going to be in community together, and not just a bunch of individuals bumping off of each other in these spaces and then going home.
Hi.
Yeah.
That, like, actually getting to be there for each other, and that's, it's like having a family.
Out of the communities you have visited, what is, like, one of the places you really feel is, like, welcoming and open to that?
They know what I'm going to say.
We do, but, I figured they'd love to hear it anyway.
New Zealand.
Oh, gosh!
Nice.
New Zealand's great about community building, like they bring the professionals into their homes, take really good care of them. There's like a real network of personal relationships in between the people who are organizing things, and it's just really, they have such a good mix of taking care of each other while also being really playful. I think like any community, I can only imagine that there's conflicts that I'm not bearing witness to as a visiting pro, but whatever they're doing, it seems like when I'm in that space, it feels very...
I don't think I know of any conflicts in New Zealand. I haven't been around all of New Zealand, but
I think I assume that there always is somewhere, right? And then it's about how you're handling it.
Yes.
Like how you're moving through it together. Are you listening to each other? Are you like collaborating? Are you all getting in the same room and talking things out? Which
definitely talking about everything.
Like there's a lot of constant dialogue amongst like a core group of people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which is
anytime
good.
I'm talking to one of them, they're like, "Oh yeah, I was just talking to so and so and so and so about the scene." Yeah, like it's they're engaged with it for sure.
It's so good.
So if you haven't been to New Zealand, you should go. They will make you feel so welcome and so loved.
Like it's your home.
Yeah,
it's like like you said, that you get into their houses, they feed you, they take you around everywhere. You feel like part of like the family, which is really nice. It's really nice. Good job, New Zealand.
Thank you for asking.
Oh, you're so welcome. And you're welcome.
What would you say like some of the differences are, like in some places, like what would you not? I mean, I like to always. No, I don't want to focus on negatives, but I think it's a positive thing still, being aware of what some negatives are, or like not negatives, or like just things they are what they are. Like you said, the conflicts are, you're going to have conflicts. Like people need to know that this is not a unnormal thing that you'll experience in places.
When you run into a community that's brushing a lot of stuff under the rug or moving really reactively from emotion, like because of what I do, that's what I'm noticing the most, because I'm trying to like address that. So I think any community that treats people as disposable or brushes things under the rug, And I want to like look at it holistically and say almost no one has the resources to do it differently. Right? Like those are the two easiest, lowest labor, lowest resource solutions. Are to like just kick someone else out or tell the person who's there like you need to figure out if you can be here.
You don't have to deal with it.
Because we're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Like this isn't our purview. We don't want to have to deal with this. Whatever. Like both of those are hands off.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
There's the initial discomfort of banning someone, but if you're not having to like do an investigation and think about like how can we find a shared space agreement between these two people, is that possible? Does this person need to be removed from the community temporarily while we give them a path to return? All of that. It takes so much time and so much work.
Yeah.
So I do want to name that I don't think it's an approach that aligns with how I like value humans within community, and like I don't want to be like, well, it's completely their fault. They're
because it's a hard
people.
thing to.
So
it's a lot of effort.
Yeah,
like
so
it's draining caring about everyone's feelings. I'm not gonna let that sound terrible.
It is, and like you know, as community builders and leaders, it does take a little piece of you.
I'm not gonna lie, I've done it before. I've definitely done it, and just been like, it's too much to deal with. Whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you don't care about people or that you don't care about community. Sometimes it's like your only option because you don't have those resources.
Yeah. And this is why, like, freaking what you're doing with this, the name of your thing one more time for everybody, not me.
Swing reports and restorations for now.
Is that a work in progress?
Honestly,
What would it be if it was abbreviated?
Biggest things I'm getting feedback about is like, I don't know what that is. When you say it, I don't know.
SRR.
Swing reports and restorations. So the idea is like you can report an incident and then I will do my best to facilitate restoration. But it's not like super intuitive.
We're gonna have a drink one night and we're gonna like workshop a bunch of things.
And workshop some ideas.
Submit your ideas in the comments.
That would be
I love that.
Actually, that's a great idea.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
You're gonna have your inbox. Hopefully, just go. No, don't destroy the inbox. Make sure you comment and then.
My inbox is already so destroyed. Have at it.
100%.
I love it. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like when you care and you like put time and effort into all these people, it's like. After this trip, we had a conversation before where like our messages had blown up with support and encouragement.
Oh, and especially after the open.
It was like, whoa, this is really nice.
Yeah.
And I was also needing to go to the toilet just to be like, thanks guys. It's really nice because I also really appreciate it. I want to, but like you have to remove yourself for like everything's give and take. You got to like can't socialize here and also socialize here. It makes sense.
So we have a question for you that's come from the last person we interviewed. So this is something we do with everyone we talk to. We kind of get them to give a question to pass on to the next person and answer a previous one. So question for you is, what is your take on photography in the dance space? And are there ways or things you could see that could maybe improve or
I love that
more impact?
It's completely not related at all into any of the conversations we've had at all.
Nothing like you'd think about, but
my specialty. I'd like to see more rule of thirds.
Rule of thirds.
That's the only thing I know about photo composition.
That's pretty good actually.
I don't know how that applies to dance. I think that's more like landscape stuff.
Yeah. What about like even how do you find like the photography of dances or like
that's kind of coming
of
through
dance
right
events now. Or like does that make sense?
I mean I think that it's I don't know, very cinematic would be a word that comes to mind for me, like very artistic. Art, composition, lighting, shapes. Clueless here. I don't know. I think if anything, this might be kind of off topic, but I have thought for a long time it would be nice to know more about other people in a community or like who are going to be attending events. And I've always thought like, just kind of like portrait photography has always been really something I enjoy engaging with.
Knowing who's showing up.
Yeah, or just like being able to kind of like see somebody's face and read a little bit about them.
Yeah.
Almost like a meet the community sort of project.
Yeah.
Fun. Like Humans of New York, if you're familiar with that page.
No.
This guy goes around and he interviews people on the streets of New York and then like will post photos of them, and it can be an essay I think it'd be cool if
That's
people
cool.
just like gave a fun fact about themselves or something and
That's
post
cool.
a couple portraits throughout the
Sick.
weekend.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Like
That's
little
awesome.
dance hallway interviews.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh, see,
I love
look,
that.
perfect. She had a great answer for
That was. I'm sure. Like now, when you see this happening in the dance world, it happened here first.
And it came from Riley. It was Riley's idea.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
humans
so cool.
of West Coast swing.
Yeah.
I don't
that.
want to
That's
infringe
cool.
on humans of New York City.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Humans
I
of
like
West
that.
Coast Swing.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And then we need you to give us a question to pass on to the next person.
Yeah.
There's something you think of?
Can I give like two variants on the same sort of question?
Course.
For sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So one question I really like asking community members in my space when we're doing intention setting sessions, which we used to do like 4 times a year, like every quarter.
Awesome.
So it would be like reflecting on how they want to engage in the community. So one of the questions I would ask is, what's one of your earliest memories of someone doing something that made you feel really welcome?
Yeah. That's awesome.
So that they can reflect on and hear from other people what those moments were, to give them an idea of how many different ways there are to be a part of those moments for other people.
And recreate them for other people too.
Yeah, and then I think a more convention specific variant on that question might be like, what is something that someone can do that's like a small action that makes a big impact on your weekend?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that intentions. So you did the intention setting 4 times in the year?
We were doing it quarterly.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit on the witchy side sometimes
That's
with
a
my
lot of people.
practices, so we would do. It's a lot of people.
Like, do you do it with everyone individually?
Oh no, we do it as like a group almost.
cool.
It would replace
Okay, gotcha.
our group class.
Yeah.
So
Right.
instead of like a movement or dance class that
Okay.
week, on
Awesome.
like the solstices and the equinoxes, we would do intention setting on like, all right,
Got you.
do you feel like you're participating in this community in a way that you like? Is
Got
there
you.
more that you want to be doing? Do you want to change how you're giving back? Are you getting what you need out of this community?
cool.
Like reflect on your
Yes.
wellness in the community. Are you
I think
giving
that's
and
so
getting what you
valuable.
want?
That's great.
That's good. That would be so valuable just for like, people bottle up a lot of things that happened even just in their personal lives and at the dance and how things are going.
And how many people are floating through the space telling everyone who they have an authentic moment with, I don't know if this is right for me anymore. Like, I don't know my role in the community, or like, I just don't feel like I belong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so giving them a place to like reflect on that with each other of, okay, what am I looking for from the community? What community do I want? What's a small action that I can do in service of that community?
And it might be something that someone tells you that they love that you're doing, you're not even aware you're doing it. Which is, it's nice to kind of have that validation as well. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Oh shit, showing up as myself.
Oh.
It benefited.
You're welcome.
I didn't know I did
Thanks,
that.
guys.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that. That's cool.
And it's kind of like also a compliment to everybody when you do have a group of people and you do find that out, that you did that thing. But I also think it's good to know and like really learn from it so that you can replicate that on purpose, not just accidentally. I do think it can be draining sometimes, like if you are like purposely doing this and it's not as natural, I guess, you can like fall into that trap. But like being aware of it is so helpful just to at least have that skill, and then you can just, again, I love that it's a group setting, so then you can learn from other people's ones too, and you can be like, I'm just going to choose. Like for me, greeting people at a class, like welcoming new people in, and like that first few seconds of them entering the door, they're probably going to have an opinion on like what it's going to be like, or how's their social interactions, or like you kind of set a bar or standard in that first like interaction, and they're going to be like, I'm scared as all hell, this is crap, I'm going to leave, or I'm going to go and try. Oh, this is awesome. That person was so friendly. That person, I feel like I know that person already.
Yeah. So you just kind of set the tone, which I think is super important too.
Yeah. So like, where I was going with that, sorry, was that we had someone tell us all the different ways that they had a good interaction in the entrance into schools, and like getting conversations, like, because someone might be uncomfortable to being like, hello, it's your first time, how did you hear about the dance, or having a conversation and stuff. And there's so many different ways to do that. I don't need to go in, but I think it's, well, actually, what are a few things that, if you could share, I don't know if it's allowed to be shared or not, but like things that you got from those groups, if that makes sense.
Yeah, some of the common ones that you would expect, like this person came and asked me to dance when I was sitting on the side of the floor.
Yeah.
This person's always really kind to me or warm towards me.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's inspiration based, like watching these two people dance together. They always have so much fun, and I really enjoy that. That's like part of my experience of the night. And then a couple of the things that are more like really touch my heart are things like I was having a bad day, I didn't want to dance, I was turning people down, I was about to go home, and someone came and just sat next to me.
Oh, yes.
And they didn't even, like, you know, they sensed what was going on, or maybe just didn't want to dance themselves, and they just sat in company.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's cool.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
or like
Yeah.
I was having a bad day and someone had a conversation with me about it. So I think those moments of human connection on the side of the dance floor
Is
speak
like
to me the most.
Yeah, and there's a theme there, right?
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. Oh,
How can people find you on all the socials?
I have Instagram pages for every part of my participation in this community, so there's a lot of them. If you want to just follow me personally, well, not personally, professionally, Riley.wcs on Instagram. Do Your Own Swing is just Do Your Own Swing on Instagram. That's the one I've been referencing the most. I also run Explore West Coast Swing, which I think is Explore WCS on Instagram. And Swing Reports and Restorations, current title, all one word, Swing Reports and Restorations, is the Instagram handle if you want to follow that, which is also a really good place to familiarize yourself with the resources. Just as an aside, when you've had a bad experience, it's not always the easiest to process information, so I would check it out before you need it.
heck yeah. I'll definitely go check that out, because Maddie tells me I gotta deal with things differently to the way I deal with things sometimes. So I might need to go check that one out.
Tell us more.
Thank you, Riley. You're awesome. It's been so good to talk to you, and get to know you this weekend. And I'm glad other people are getting to know you too over here, which is great.
I didn't look at them at all. I'm realizing as I look over at the camera that I took the whole time.
It's fine.
Hopefully you guys love Riley as much as we do, and see you at all the events, hopefully in New Zealand again, and all that sort of thing. So, thank you.
Bye.